Diana Rita described life in Juarez as a reality that sweeps across the town like a sandstorm, seizing on its way the tender smiles and the vivid aspirations from thousands of people. The government in Juarez is failing its citizens and falling apart due to the impunity. The effect of this impunity is streets filled with crime. Juarez citizens are left living in unimaginable conditions, as you can see here. Life across the border in Juarez, Mexico, is conflicted with its citizens having to face adversity every day due to a poor government, surging crime, excruciating poverty, and all these things affect the everyday lifestyle. Let's look at Mexico's government and its effects on the crime. El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez are only a border crossing apart. But Patrick Timmons says, in terms of homicidal violence, they might as well be worlds apart. The difference between the two countries is the revolving cycle of impunity. In Juarez, there are a small number of criminal cases that are actually investigated, unlike El Paso and the United States, where almost every case is gone investigated or at least looked at. INEGI reported in 2017 that 93.2% of crimes in Mexico go unreported. And for this sole reason, criminals have nothing stopping them. The drug wars include internal conflicts and ongoing fights for street markets and U.S. distribution routes. Many times, innocent men and women are recruited to kill for the gangs, and if they don't kill, many times they themselves are killed. To put it into perspective, in 2010, Juarez City's murder rate reached more than 230 murders per 100,000 residents. This was higher than even Baghdad at the time. Although today violence is still at a record 1,259 homicides in 2018, citizens are beginning to feel safer. This was reported by Rick from the article As Trump Builds a Wall. Though it's still a city with violence, today criminal groups don't get mixed in within the citizens and merchants. It's more between them, said David Bersica, a Juarez merchant. After going to Juarez in 2017 and 18, it is clear to me that the citizens are no longer afraid. However, the gangs do linger there. A local told me when I was there that at night, many times, gangs take the shoes of children and they hang them on power lines to mark their territory. I can personally contest that this is a true fact. Within the streets of Juarez, certain power lines are usually hung with children's shoes. Yes, this does show that crime lingers, but when you're there, you do not feel its presence. The streets are normally crowded and the markets are full because gangs are starting to keep their distance and people are feeling safe. Not only does this crime affect the citizens, but the poverty does as well. In Juarez, the economy has suffered due to the violence. For years, presidents have been trying to stop the war with drug cartels, and this meant money investment and crime rate raising. Today, that has left many citizens with low-paying jobs and high poverty. 65% of Ciudad Juarez, 1.2 million residents, live in poverty, said Joseph from Dispatches from the Field. This poverty rate is hard to change when most of the jobs are only paying $55 a week. It is believed that Juarez was unable to deal with the huge population growth in the 1990s. During this time, factories were built in hopes to bring in jobs and more income for families. But with the huge immigrants, over 100,000 of them, coming from southern and central Mexico, it was hard to meet the demands. All of the new residents were forced to live in colonies in Juarez, which had no infrastructure or adequate housing. I've witnessed life in Juarez colony in Napra, and many times people are living in houses just like these. These are actual pictures I took. They live in pallet houses and cinder block structures that have tin or tarps as their roofs. Diana Strieta was in Juarez writing and helping about the extreme poverty there, and this is what she wrote. Small cardboard houses stand behind as they leave with a feeling of uncertainty as whether they will still be there when they return. Their growling of their stomachs can be heard, and their bones of their thin skeletal bones can be felt in a mother's warm embrace. The drained and fatigued looks of the women reflect the desire to stay home and the rest. Their sense and obligation, however, is stronger. Their work can mean an extra loaf of bread at night. Thus, woman's profound, overpowering sigh expresses nothing other than resignation. This crime and poverty affect the everyday life and lifestyles of the citizens there. The everyday routine for citizens in Juarez differs extremely compared to citizens here in the United States. There are no sick days or vacation days for people there because that might mean a day with no food. Within each household, it is very unlikely to find more than 1 or 2 men who actually have a job. This is due to the scarce amount of work that is available in Juarez. Due to the scarce amount of work that is there, and when they do find a job, everything that they have, they save. Many people look at the educational rates in Juarez and are astonished and say, if they can fix this, the poverty will go away. What Americans do not understand is that by sending children to school in Mexico past primary schooling is only hurting the struggling families. Many times young boys are pulled out of school around 4th grade and they get jobs. This may sound appalling, but it is very smart for boys to do this because they are helping their struggling families by getting a job rather than staying in school and receiving the same job they would have at that time that they're actually being able to participate in now. Family is cherished and the center of everything in the Juarez culture. Many times children raise their families in the same home that they grew up in and that their parents grew up in. In a place where there's little room to live, you will find small homes filled with many generations of people. Younger siblings are given or passed down homes from their other siblings or relatives because usually families start at the age of 15. Families support each other no matter what, even with the little money or resources they have. One of the greatest things in Juarez is that no matter the poverty or crime situation, they are so welcoming and willing to help. In the face of evil and darkness, they have every right to be bitter and sad, but instead they always welcome their homes and lives to outsiders if needed. It is common in Juarez for families to show their appreciation by cooking meals and helping those who served him, as they did here in these pictures. In conclusion, the constant crime and poverty that roams the streets of Juarez, Mexico, due to the government being the empire of impunity, causes the lifestyle of people just across the border from us to be full of adversity. Unless the government can fix this, the fate of Juarez begins to be unknown. The people are left struggling daily, living in impoverished neighborhoods and communities, and hiding from the crime that happens at sunset. Citizens of Juarez are struggling, and they really need our help. Thank you.